All right, so we're going to cover why adaptive coverage can be so useful. To explain what adaptive coverage is, pretty simply put, it's where I'm just covering wherever the first line is, essentially putting my sword in the way of his. So if his sword's in a mid guard, adaptive coverage would be me putting my sword in the way here. And if he was in a low guard, it would be something more like me putting my sword in the way here. Now this is really useful for beginners to think about when doing adaptive coverage, is just to put your sword in the way and move your body out the way. So if he's pointed at me, I'm just going to put my sword in the way and move my body out the way. And what I mean by putting my sword in the way, I mean that if he were to attack me, he would be attacking into my sword, preferably my strong. So for example, if my sword is in the way properly here, if he just comes straight forward, then it's moved into my strong, essentially giving me a parry without me having to move at all. Okay, so now why would we want to do this adaptive coverage instead of just staying in one guard all the time? One of the reasons is I don't have to spend any tempos essentially to parry. And I can just, if he attacks into that clothesline, which yes, a lot of times is really illogical, people shouldn't be, but when you always keep that line closed, a lot of times people will. If I were to not have adaptive coverage and he were to attack me, I now have to move to parry, which is going to take up some time. Essentially, he went first when he attacked. Now I'm in obedience. He has the initiative, so I have to respond and I move. So now even if I get this nice good parry, by the time I go to riposte, he has his tempos back, so he's going to be able to parry them. Now this adaptive coverage makes us be able to get a lot faster of a riposte or other options because we're not going to be locked in tempo. So for example, if I'm here and he attacks into that coverage, then now I don't need to move. I don't need to spend my tempo, so I can riposte faster or do other things if I need to. If he were to try to redirect or whatever, I still have that tempo of my arm for the redirect. Now, this can also help with a situation that I see a lot of fencers talk about or run into, where when their opponent attacks them and they parry and they want to riposte and the head's the logical target, is that they don't like attacking right here because the enemy always closes off the line, gets their attack, gets the parry because they're attacking, essentially through their strong or close to their guard. If you use this adaptive coverage, you can get this riposte a lot more often. So if I have my adaptive coverage and I have it covered properly and he attacks into this line, since I don't have to spend this tempo to move my arm, which will then give him time back, I can instead, since I have that coverage, just thrust forward, which will give me the gain. Now I can actually thrust through his guard and even through his strong and get that shot off because his arm's in tempo. As mine's coming forward, he's going to have a hard time parrying it. So for example, what this would look like very slowly, since he doesn't have a helmet on, is he goes, I have that coverage, I'm attacking into his attack. So let's cover real quick what proper coverage is. It's essentially where I have his weapon gained but without touching it. So when he comes forward with his attack, if I have that proper coverage, he gives me the gain so I can actually attack into his attack because I have the coverage properly, where when I thrust forward, it will give me the gain. So what this looks like is when he attacks, since I don't need to move over, I can attack into his attack, countering his attack and hitting him by his guard and through his strong. Now, when it comes to adaptive coverage, there's a very key component of positioning that a lot of people are forgetting. And that's which weapon I should be covering with. And this is going to depend on your positioning. If I'm in right eye alignment, or lead sword to lead sword, lead leg to lead leg, then I should be covering with my sword and doing my action with my sword because it's faster and my dagger has further to travel. If we're squared up or equal eye aligned, then now my adaptive coverage is going to be done with my dagger because that has that faster route to the faster parry. And then left eye aligned is with the dagger as well. So it's very important to note when you do your adaptive coverage, make sure you're doing it with the proper weapon based on your positioning. That way it's not going to take you too much time to cover with your weapon. And that is a big mistake that I see a lot.